Well, hello everyone. Welcome back to Kimmell and Cox. I am Dylan Kimmell, and I am here as always with my good friend Keith Cox.
Hey, hey.
And today we are talking about the final entry of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3. It didn't really have a subtitle, but
No subtitle for this one.
But it was very good. No, it wasn't.
No, not really.
No.
I wish we could say that, but this one was the wicked stepsister of the Turtles franchise. But,
Yeah.
but we'll truck through and try to pick out some of the good and the bad.
Before we get into that, though, you didn't watch the Oscars last night, did you?
I did not. We unfortunately missed it. These days with the economy being what it is, we're always trying to find ways to save a few bucks here and there. And so we recently changed our Hulu plan, not realizing that we kind of downgraded the plan. So now we don't have Hulu Plus Live. We can still watch new shows, but we just can't actually watch them live anymore. We have to wait till the next day to a soap. So we had to miss the Oscars, but...
Well, never fear. I have a list of the winners for you here. So this should be very exciting for you.
Cool.
So first off, let's start with the Best Picture, because everyone wants to know what the Best Picture is.
Absolutely.
So I'll give it to you here. It was a little movie called Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Okay. I've been hearing a lot about that movie. I haven't seen it yet, but yeah.
I can't say that I've seen it either, but I've heard really good things about it. It's like a multiversal type of movie.
Okay.
So it's similar vein to Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. Okay. However, I've heard higher praise from this one because they use practical effects mostly.
Oh, well, that's good. I probably would enjoy that then. So
yeah, so
I have to check that out.
It might be really exciting.
Best Picture, huh? Okay.
Mm-hmm. And Best Actress was Michelle Yeoh for Everything Everywhere All at Once.
All right. So we got two. We got two so far for that movie.
And then we'll move right along here. Best Supporting Actress, Jamie Lee Curtis. Everything Everywhere All at Once.
All right. Well, I agree with the actress choice there. You know, she's been going strong for many years now. So
yeah, and I believe that's one of her first Oscars as well as Michelle Yeoh's as well.
All right.
Best Supporting Actor, Ke-Huy Quan for Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Wow, that's I'm starting to sense a pattern here.
There might be a little bit of a pattern here. Which you know who Ke-Huy Quan is, right?
The name sounds familiar. Where do I know that from?
He played Short Round in Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom.
Okay. Yeah, we talked about that franchise earlier in the season, and
we sure did.
Talked about how annoying his character was in that movie. So
he's come a long way from that.
Yeah, I was gonna say, hopefully he's grown up a little bit and has turned into a much better actor. So
and then we have Best Director. Best Director.
Oh, that's another big one. Best Director. Yeah.
Daniel Kwan and Daniel Scheinert for Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Holy crap! I'm sensing that we have maybe an Oscar sweep going on here, but let's see how the other categories are.
Okay. Well, Best Original Screenplay. Everything Everywhere All at Once. Best Film Editing, Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Wow.
And then finally we have Best Actor for The Whale, Brendan Fraser.
Oh, there we go. Now we finally got something different. All right. That's man, that's insane. Like, you're reading the list off there and I'm just like, okay, usually you can expect to maybe a movie to win in like two, maybe like three categories
Oscars or something like that.
But gosh, that's insane.
It has to be a good movie then. We better be.
We're gonna have to get on that.
We're gonna have to
watch that and maybe include that in a future episode. So, and I haven't seen the whale either.
I haven't either. Yeah. But honestly, that's a whole lot of big comebacks as well, because that was like her first for Michelle Yeoh, Jamie Lee Curtis, Ke-Huy Quan, even Brendan Fraser. He's never won an Oscar.
I didn't realize that. But that's awesome.
So that was big news. It was amazing. But let's go ahead and to our main topic here.
Dive into Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3.
So Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3, that was released March 19th, 1993.
Okay, so yeah, we remember that. It was almost 2 years between movies this time around.
It's about to celebrate
the second movie and the third.
it's about to celebrate its 30th birthday here soon.
Gosh, that is insane. that movie is almost it is it's basically the same age as you, just a little bit older.
A few months
old. You were born
old,
in '93 too, but you were in like October, right? Yeah,
right.
So
right.
A little bit older than, but man, that's crazy. Almost 30 years old.
It's crazy to think, huh?
Yeah.
But it was released then and written by and directed by Stuart Gillard.
Yep. So we got a new writer and director this time around. Yeah.
And we did have some returning cast members here.
Yes, we did.
So of course we had Paige Turco as April O'Neil,
reprising that role from the second movie.
And then I keep on wanting to say his name wrong. Elias Koteas.
I think it's Elias. It's Elias Koteas.
Elias Koteas.
Yeah.
Okay. Elias Koteas returns
as Casey Jones. Yes.
Well, actually, he played a double duty.
Two characters, yes.
And another character named Wit.
Yes. Yeah, he plays because we'll get into that, of course, but the turtles travel through time in this movie, and so he plays a character from way back in when they go back to feudal Japan.
And then some other people in the movie: Henry Hayashi as Kenshin, Stuart Wilson as Walker, Sab Shimono as Lord Nirinaga, Travis A. Moon as Yoshi, Vivian Yu as Mitsu. And then for the voice actors here, the Turtles here, Brian Tochi as Leonardo. He's returned again. So he's just...
3 out of 3 for him.
3 out of 3. And also 3 out of 3, Robbie Rist,
yes,
Michelangelo.
Yeah.
But also returning Donatello, Corey Feldman.
Yes, we got Corey Feldman back, which I'm assuming that the studio or powers that be or whatever realized their mistake in casting a different voice actor in the second movie for that. So we're glad to have him back.
From what I read, they felt pretty bad about not casting him in that one. So. They felt pretty bad about that. They, but not bad enough that they didn't give him a pay raise. They apparently he asked for a pay raise and he still got paid the same rate. They're like, no.
Yeah, he got. I forget what the amount was, but he got
$1,500.
Right. Yeah, for the first movie, he only got paid $1,500 to do the voice for Donatello.
That's not a lot.
No, not not for the scope of work what he had to do there. I guess because I don't think anybody expected the movie to make what it did at the box office, because it was only like a $13 million budget, which is which is low, for Hollywood. But yeah, so he only got paid $1,500, and then the movie made like tons of money at the box office, and so he never really reaped the benefits of that. But. And then we had a new Raphael again this time, didn't we?
Again, yes. What's his name? Tim Keller. Tim Keller.
Another new voice. Yeah.
Still not as good.
Three different Raphaels in these movies, and
And then Splinter. Splinter's played by a different actor this time.
Right.
Yeah. I also didn't care for his portrayal. No. James Murray.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought Kevin Clash definitely brought a lot more to that role. So.
Definitely.
But Splinter also didn't have quite as much of a role in this one as the other two. He wasn't really...
He didn't, no. Him and Casey Jones actually didn't really have much of a role.
No. It was kind of disappointing that even though Elias Koteas, played two characters in this, so he was in the movie a lot, But as far as the Casey Jones characters, they didn't give him much to do in this movie. He was basically a babysitter throughout the whole movie.
Yeah, yeah. He was. That was so disappointing. A babysitter to
a group of ninjas that came from another time.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. The creature effects also were not handled by Jim Henson's Creature Shop anymore. Instead, it was by a company called the All Effects Company.
That certainly made a big difference too. I think in the terms of the the look and the feel of the movie. So it just felt, I don't know. It felt this one felt cheaper. I don't know.
It was definitely cheaper, and I think that was honestly the plan too. Because I was reading here that Golden Harvest, who was the producers of the film, actually felt like the film franchise had lived up to its potential, and it was a dying breed. So they pretty much just stripped it of its money and saved a buck or two.
Yeah.
So that's probably what happened. That's why everything's just so much smaller.
It honestly could have been released, as my feeling was, this could have been a direct-to-video sequel.
It has that feel.
It has that feel. I was kind of surprised that they even released it in theaters. Like when I saw it, I remember, because again, as a kid, I was a huge Ninja Turtles fan, but even with the trailers and things for that one, when it was getting ready to be released, I don't remember being as excited for this one as previous ones. But I'm like, it's like I remember thinking, well, I'm going to go see it, because obviously I've seen the other two, but also I was like phasing out of my Turtles craze by that. It was kind of being replaced by other things, and so it was more of going to see it, I guess, for the nostalgia of because I had been such a big Turtles fan, and then I just remember being very disappointed when I saw it. Like they could have just not made this at all.
Yeah, it could have just been two movies and been done.
Yeah, and it would have been fine.
It could have been even just one movie, and then
sure, absolutely, because there were definitely some things that didn't particularly care for in the second movie either, but it wasn't as bad as this one.
No, not at all. So as for the whole plot line here, the concept for the movie is loosely based on a couple of issues from Mirage called Masks. Issues 46 and 47 of Mirage Comics. And honestly, this whole thing became of them traveling through time became a thing, actually, because it also showed up in the animated show as well.
Oh yeah, I do remember that. Yeah,
and so it's becoming kind of like I don't want to say annual, but occasionally they will go back in time at some point.
Yeah,
so
became like a trope, I guess.
Yeah. So. Not a very exciting trope, honestly. I mean, I don't fancy it really, but
no, that's it. It could have been. I suppose if it had been handled in a different way, it could have been good. They could have found a way to use that, but I don't know. It just didn't. I just felt like it just didn't work. This whole movie just didn't really work on a lot of levels.
Yeah, it's like it was such a downer.
It really was. I mean, it just didn't have the. It felt like it was forced. The whole movie felt forced.
It was definitely had that feeling of. There's just no words on how.
I don't think anybody was. I don't think anybody was ready for another Turtles movie. At this point,
I'd say everyone was feeling fatigue at this point, because even the studio apparently felt fatigue.
Yeah.
You felt fatigue?
Yeah, it was like I kind of agree with them on that I think it had reached a peak, at that point, even though the animated series was still going strong, because it was a few more years before that got canceled. But
it makes perfect sense, because the Turtles were created in 1983, I believe.
Yeah, it's like 84, I think, was the first.
84
the first
was
comic,
the first issue.
Yeah.
So they were just etching it out in 83, and then released it in 84. So it was almost 10 years old, so it was practically almost a decade old. So yeah, I guess you would find fatigue in that, because even the Marvel Universe, those movies have been starting to feel fatigued, and it's been like 10 years.
I think I think that happens with a lot of movies. Some franchises just really stand the test of time, and
James Bond.
And they can. You can just keep going, and everybody's still going to pack the theater.
Although the funny thing about the James Bond movies is that if you think about it, it doesn't make much sense that it's all the same James Bond, particularly before Daniel Craig, because Daniel Craig's is reboot, because it's all. He has the same memory from all those films, and yet he's still young.
Right. Yeah.
And the technology is advanced and everything like that.
Yeah. That's another one of those that
suspend disbelief.
Yeah, and just like Batman or Superman or any of those movies, you can put different actors in that role, and even though it's still supposed to be like kind of on the same continuum or whatever, like you said, you just kind of suspend your disbelief, and you're trying to look at the character, I guess, rather than the actor. So
yeah,
but
it's very easy to do when it's puppets. So the story is that it's about 2 years after Secret of the Ooze, and April O'Neil comes bearing gifts. She went to some sort of flea market and gave them a whole bunch of gifts and everything.
Right.
She gifts. I can't remember all the gifts, but the one in particular that she gives Splinter a scepter, like an old Japanese scepter.
Yeah, and it's got like a kind of like an hourglass kind of device, something like that, like on the inside of it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's a ridiculous time thing. But the Time Scepter actually does have precedence in the comics as well.
I do seem to recall something about that.
It was originally associated with a character named Renee, or Renette. The Timestress apprentice of Lord Simultaneous. These characters obviously are absent from the movie.
Yeah, you would have thought they would have tied that into it since
save money,
right? It's like we're just gonna bring this, find some
honestly that
hokey way to bring this device into the movie, and we're just not going to explain it.
I mean, it's so weird. No background on that thing at all. It's just poof. Like, how is a Japanese time traveling thing in this realm? It's a Japanese, but it's in America.
Yeah.
And you find it in a flea market. Wait. What?
Somebody just tossed that. It's like, oh, this is just like a little trinket, and but I guess you have to find some way to make it, to work it into the movie, and even though in reality, nothing like that would probably ever happen. If you got your hands on an antique, on a Japanese relic, something authentic like that, it's not going to end up at a flea market,
No. Well, conveniently, April O'Neil is the one that ends up transported, so the Turtles end up going after her and using the scepter. In a weird way, the thing is that when the Turtles time travel and April time travels, it takes someone from the past and brings them to the present too.
Yeah, they basically like switch places. Like,
what was the purpose of that though? There was no plot line other than Casey Jones babysitting them.
Yeah, there was no reason or explanation for that whatsoever. Like why would somebody else have to, like, if you wanted to travel through time, why would somebody else have to take your place in the present?
And another thing that's weird about that too is that, one, even if that were the case that they brought them in there, couldn't they have some sort of subplot in the present time? Like, okay, they're like, Casey Jones is babysitting them so they don't get out.
Right.
There's your plot line right there. They get out.
Yeah, that would be more like they get out and start roaming the streets of New York. I mean, he does take them. He takes them to like a sports bar at some point or whatever. But that's like, but he's but they're supervised. You know, I mean, that was his idea. It's not like they were just out roaming the streets and like
something could have happened
getting
there.
Into some trouble, or they get into a fight, you know, with somebody, and
they end up thrown in jail. And then,
that stuff would have been funnier, but yeah.
I mean, the police wouldn't have any record of them or whatever, or, you know, they're like, they run their DNA through the system and everything, and they're like, huh, but that doesn't look like this person because it's their ancestor or whatever, you know? I mean, I don't know. Stuart Gillard, you have some explaining to do.
Yeah, like, what were you thinking? You know,
this is like his first draft of the script.
Yeah, pretty much. This was like, you know, they just you know, normally a movie would go through several variations before it finally hit the screens, but this almost feels like a first attempt. Like, we're just gonna do it.
It's good enough.
Yeah, but just a lot of things in there that were not really explained well, or just seemed like a really goofy, you know,
and honestly,
device.
When they time travel, here's the sad thing about this movie. Like, I rewatched this before we started, right? Mm-hmm. There's nothing really memorable about this movie at all, because I'm sitting here thinking, okay, because I even have it written in my notes. They travel in time, they lead up a rebellion, and they win the day.
Yeah, I mean,
that's basically it.
There's really not any iconic moments or scenes that I can think of compared to the other two movies where if we're talking about it, where I can like visualize it in my head, you know, maybe the one of the scenes early on in the movie after the turtles, you know, go back to ancient Japan where they're riding horses, and Michelangelo is like he's like riding backwards on his horse or whatever, and you know, but I don't know. Like I said, there weren't really any standout, you know, moments in this movie. And the kid is another one of those things. Like, oh, we're gonna. It seems like a lot of sequels end up doing that. It's like, we're gonna bring a kid into it, and like somehow that's going to make it better.
I can name a few of them, and they actually end up not being as good.
No, they usually end up being one of the worst.
Indiana Jones Temple of Doom, for one. Yeah. The Mummy Returns. I introduced a little boy in that. No one dies in that, neither, except for the bad guys. Yeah, it's like it's an attempt to. I think sometimes it's an attempt to, even though these movies were kind of, you know, aimed more at a younger audience. It's like it brings that down even more. Like when you introduce a kid that's like, you know, one of the stars of the film. It's like they were trying to tone down the adultness of it even more. Yeah, and well, here's another thing that's interesting too. They never actually explicitly say either one of these characters are the ancestors to, you know, other characters. But the character of Whit, they never outright say that he's an ancestor of Casey Jones.
Yeah. It's assumed because they look like, but
they never. But another character that they never actually, Yoshi, Hamato Yoshi, are they related?
Yeah, was that a nod to Hamato Yoshi? Or
I mean, surely the turtles would have recognized the name and been like, "You're our ancestor," you know. Well, not their ancestor, but their adopted father.
Splinter's master. So yeah, there was a lot of missed opportunities there, I think.
Yeah. So many missed opportunities. I mean, yeah, there's really nothing memorable about this. It ends up, even an anticlimactic ending.
Yeah.
The bad guy falls to his death.
Yeah, nothing worth, remembering or mentioning as far as that goes. The turtles go back to their hideout, and it was like a little comical sort of. It
was just a little thing that happened to them, and then they just do a little dance at the end, and the funniest thing, though, although Golden Harvest had no faith in this movie actually succeeding, there were plans for a fourth installment.
Well, based on this movie, I'm glad that we didn't get that.
Well, we kind of did, actually.
Yeah, I guess.
Because here's what happened. So the fourth installment was to be titled "The Next Mutation," and it was actually supposed to be, the plot was to explore the concept that Splinter and the Turtles, they still have that ooze in their veins, and it's going through a second mutation. So,
right, yeah.
But that film never materialized. That concept got utilized for the animated show for an episode, and the title was reutilized for a TV show that was not very good either. And that one actually introduced a fifth. Originally the fourth one was going to have a character named a fifth turtle named Kirby, named after a comic book artist, Jack Kirby.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Because, as you know, the turtles are named after Renaissance artists.
Right.
So they decided that this fifth turtle would be named after a modern artist, who also revolutionized art in a certain way.
Books. I mean, he and Stan Lee together created a lot of most iconic Marvel characters.
I mean, there's like a whole ton of characters there that they created together, and they are within our culture, and they.
They're still a part of that today, but
that never materialized. Instead, we got a female turtle that was named Venus de Milo.
I do remember that now. That was their attempt at a live action turtle series. They were trying to capitalize on the success of the movies, but again, it's like it was sort of like a step down from this movie. Like it had a very cheap feel to it, and they also, it should be mentioned that during this time, I can't remember now exactly when it was, if it was between the first and second movie or between the second and third, when they had this thing. I don't know if any of you all will remember this, but they had a live action Turtles show that toured the country, where the Turtles sang and played guitar and all that. It was called the Out of Their Shells tour. And I admit that I went to one of the shows. They came to Rep Arena, and my dad and I, God rest his soul, I remember we went to see that, and I had a VHS copy of like one of the. It was sort of like one of those behind the scenes, it was done in the style of almost like a rock documentary or something, and would show performances from the show, and but yeah, it was literally like, I mean, it was like going to see like Disney on Ice or something like that. It's like where the turtle suits, like the mouths didn't move or anything, like the actors inside were talking, but there was no movement or whatever.
No animatronics or anything. Yeah.
So it wasn't like really complex or anything. But yeah, I remember that. I was like, but I remember though some of the songs that they did really were not that bad. I mean, some of them were pretty catchy, because I had the album. They put out an album, too. But yeah, just crazy the things that they were thinking of at that time to promote the Turtles, and seemed like a good idea. But looking back on it now, I was like, yeah, they probably could have left that alone.
Right.
Yeah. But the TV series sort of had that same sort of
it
feel
did.
to it.
It's so the Turtles franchise. I mean, it's still living strong, but it's been rebooted. But this generation has concluded with a whimper.
Yeah. Yes. It did not go out on a good note. That's for sure, and it would be several years before we got another. They had several different animated shows, but as far as a movie, it would be quite a while before we got another feature film. There was an animated feature film that was just called TMNT.
Which is funny. Another funny thing is that TMNT is semi a reboot, but semi a sequel to the third one. It's never explicitly said that it's a sequel or a reboot either, but I remember reading somewhere around that time that they considered it a sequel, even though I don't see how. But we wouldn't get another live action until like 2010s.
Yeah, and you had the two movies. What was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and then
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Out of the Shadows.
And which they weren't terrible.
Oh, it could have been a lot worse. Have you even heard?
Worse.
Did you hear what Michael Bay was planning to do with these things? He was going to have it just be called Ninja Turtles or Mutant. He was going to drop the teenage thing aspect from it entirely. The alien concept, they were going to be aliens. The Turtles were going to be aliens.
Man, Michael Bay.
And and as soon as all that got out, everyone was like, no! Yeah. Okay, so here's the thing. Here's how blatantly obvious it is. The one character that the businessman that it works for Shredder, it was originally worked that he was going to be Shredder. But again, backlash and everything. Right. They're like, let's shoehorn Shredder in there and just make him like an accomplice. So,
I think to some degree they stuck a little bit closer to the comics in terms of the
after getting all that backlash, they sure did.
I mean because the Turtles went through a lot of different looks over the years, and at one point, because I remember I used to have a wall calendar, a Turtles wall calendar that had a bunch of different original Turtles artwork on it, and so each month it was like, there were slightly different variations of the characters depending on who the artist was that drew them. And but I remembered, one of my favorites from that portrayed the Turtles as like very large and kind of like hulking, muscular.
The Michael Bay versions were definitely that.
And so that movie kind of went towards that look, which I kind of liked. But I do wish that they could have found a way to maybe incorporate some animatronics with CGI in that, because being all CGI, that was the thing that I didn't really
like we mentioned in the very first episode of the Turtles. We talked about that, like CGI, combining CGI and animatronics. It would have been
the way to go. Yeah. You could always do animatronics for close-ups and things like that, and then if it requires them to, move in a different way that the animatronics can't handle, then you bring in, CG to take care of that. But like I said, they weren't awful, but I don't think that they were like fantastic either. And so we chose not to, talk about any of those movies that were, parts of the Ninja Turtles legacy, because I think to us, we consider these what I call the original trilogy of movies to be the best out of
they are certainly the what's the word? They really are the best. There's nothing that can top them, I don't think. They've tried. To be honest, I don't even think this next one with Seth Rogen's cooking up is going to be as good as the original either.
They have a great cast, a great voice cast. So it'd be interesting to see how that plays out. But
I'd like a proper live action one. It's something about as soon as you do a live action one, I just want to see that in live action.
Exactly, that's exactly what I was thinking. Is that we got spoiled on the live action. And that's true of anything. It's like once you transition from animation to live action, then we kind of don't really want to see animation anymore. We've got just off topic there, but perfect example is Ghostbusters. Is like that started as a live action. That the original animated series was based on the movie instead of vice versa. But it's like the animated series, even the original animated series, paled in comparison to the movies. And so it's like, but there was supposed to be an animated feature film coming at some point, and also an original Netflix series that's going to be animated.
Yeah.
I don't know how either of those are going to tie into the current like Ghostbusters universe, or if they'll be unrelated. And so it's like I'm kind of apprehensive about it. I mean, like the fact that Jason Reitman and everything is kind of giving his blessing on these things is a good sign. But it's like, because it's animated, I don't know how excited I want to be about that, because I really just rather see Ghostbusters movies and things in live action.
I mean, I don't know of any animated movie that would outshine. There really isn't.
The only thing is with animation, at least, is that animation is limitless in the sense that you can do so much more with animation than you could a live action movie. So I get that it's
there's more artistic
potential there, but I don't know. It's still, that's the thing. It's like I can't get over that. It's like you can make it adult. You can put adult themes and everything in there, but at the end, I'm still looking at them like it's still a cartoon.
Yeah.
Like I'd rather be seeing real people, and But.
Yeah. Well, that does it for this one here. So we're just about out of time. So, but please help me out here. What do I want to say here for them to?
Oh, about this movie?
Yeah.
I would say if you're a Ninja Turtles fan, then definitely watch it. Because
maybe once.
Yeah,
once is all you need.
Once is really enough. I mean, like I said, I didn't even own this movie until like just a couple of years ago. I didn't even
own this movie until a couple of days ago.
I had the first two movies for many years, and then and then I got a Blu-ray set with all three movies in it.
Yeah.
And so I was like, but it's definitely not.
There's no rewatchability on there. It's a one and done type of movie.
There's really not. But if you're, like I said, if you're a Turtles fan, and you're a completionist, then then at least have it in the library, there to be able to pull it off the shelf once in a while if you wanted to, just to, like, if you wanted to watch all three movies together just for that continuity. But other than that, there's not much to recommend this movie.
I'd have to agree. Well, that does it for this episode here, and please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe.
Yes.
That will help us out tremendously. Also, I almost forgot to mention, We will be at LexCon.
Yes.
However, we did make one announcement on that we won't be able to live up to on that.
Oh, yes. So we wanted to be able to offer some exclusive merchandise at the con, like in the way of T-shirts, but unfortunately, it's not going to be within our budget to be able to do that. So hopefully in the future we'll be able to offer you all something like that. Maybe we can offer it as like a Patreon exclusive or something like that.
I would definitely plug that in as Patreon there, because if we can get some Patreons on that there, we would be able to gift you some merchandise. Because
the thing is that we were planning on just giving these T-shirts away. We weren't going to sell them because we're still in the early stages of this podcast. It's still in its infancy, and it hasn't blown up or anything like we hope that it will in the future. And so we just wanted to get our name out there, get the brand out there, and we thought what better way to do that than just if anybody comes to see us at the con and they want a T-shirt, here you go. And just, more like tell your friends, wear the shirt, tag us on your social media or whatever. That was the plan, but just can't really work that into the budget this time around. So maybe next year, or like I said, maybe at some point we'll be able to offer that for you. But that's kind of what Patreon is for. You can touch on that too. That's a way that they can actually support us and help us to be able to do those things.
Yeah, there's going to be a blooper reel, and
we'll have a little playlist or something for that.
Yeah, we'll have a little bit of playlist there, and also just so you don't miss out on any news or anything like that, just go ahead and follow us on Twitter or TikTok, and we have all those links. We'll have them right down here, just
on the bottom of your screen,
there. And also we'll have them in the links in the description there, as well as the end credits. So
Can't miss it.
No way you can miss it. No way at all.
No.
And of course, there's the Patreon page. Be sure to follow us and listen to us on our we are on Spotify.
Mm-hmm.
If you have a commute or anything, you can listen to us there.
iHeartRadio, Music. Yeah, there's a bunch of places where you can check out the podcast, where you can just listen to us as well. So
yeah, you don't have to see our faces if you don't like our faces.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's about all that we have here for today. So, like always, please be good to yourselves, and I'm sending all the love to everybody there. So much love to everyone. Have a good one.
We'll see you next time.
Yep.
You dipstick.